Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers Channel. Today, we will learn about the shocking developments coming to Port Charles this Wednesday, December 24th. Get ready for explosive courtroom drama, devastating confessions, and secrets that will tear families apart as Willow Kane's trial reaches a critical turning point. Brook Lynn's growing doubts. The episode kicks off with Brook Lynn Quartermain experiencing serious second thoughts about her involvement in Harrison Chase's mission to exonerate Willow. The young Quartermain heiress finds herself wrestling with conflicting emotions as she realizes the plan she enthusiastically supported may have unintended consequences that could hurt people she cares about. Brook Lynn's conscience is clearly weighing heavily on her shoulders as she seeks guidance from Michael Corinthos, hoping he can provide clarity on whether they've made the right choices. During their heart-to-heart conversation, Brook Lynn confides in Michael about her mounting concerns. She's torn between her loyalty to Chase and her growing realization that their actions might cause collateral damage to innocent people caught in the crossfire. Michael, who has his own complicated relationship with Willow and the entire situation, listens intently as Brook Lynn unburdens herself. The conversation reveals just how much this trial is affecting everyone in their social circle, creating rifts and forcing people to choose sides in ways they never anticipated. Tracy Quartermain's business concerns. Following her discussion with Michael, Brook Lynn makes her way to Tracy Quartermain to address pressing matters related to Deception Cosmetics. The conversation quickly turns tense as they discuss the company's latest business agreement with the mysterious and potentially dangerous Jen Sidwell. Tracy, never one to mince words, makes her position crystal clear with a declaration that sends chills down Brook Lynn's spine. This is a big deal, and I don't like it. Tracy's instincts are rarely wrong when it comes to business dealings, and her obvious discomfort with this Sidwell arrangement suggests there's more to this partnership than meets the eye. The Quartermain matriarch has decades of experience navigating corporate waters, and when something doesn't sit right with her, it usually means trouble is brewing on the horizon. Brook Lynn finds herself caught between business necessities and Tracy's seasoned warnings, knowing that Deception's future may hang in the balance depending on how they handle this delicate situation. An unexpected reunion. Later in the episode, Tracy has an unexpected encounter with Mayor Laura Collins. The Port Charles powerhouses haven't had much opportunity to catch up recently, and their impromptu meeting provides a rare moment of calm before the courtroom storm intensifies. Laura delivers an intriguing line that catches Tracy completely off guard, telling someone not to sound so surprised about something significant. The exchange between these two formidable women promises to be filled with wit and wisdom, as both have weathered countless storms in Port Charles over the years. Their conversation may reveal important information about ongoing investigations or shed light on connections between various storylines that viewers haven't yet pieced together. Whatever Laura reveals clearly takes Tracy by surprise, which is no small feat considering how difficult it is to catch the sharp-witted Quartermain matriarch unprepared. Ava's strategic advice. Meanwhile, Ava Jerome receives alarming news about Portia Robinson being subpoenaed to testify for the defense in Willow's trial. Ava, ever the strategist and survivor, immediately recognizes the danger this poses for Portia and wastes no time reaching out to offer counsel. When they meet, Portia is visibly panicked, her usual composure completely shattered as she contemplates what might happen when she takes the witness stand. Ava's advice is characteristically pragmatic and self-preserving. Say as little as humanly possible while under oath. She understands better than most how easily words spoken in court can destroy lives and relationships. Ava warns Portia that every word she utters will be scrutinized, dissected, and potentially weaponized against her. However, despite Ava's sage advice and Portia's best intentions to remain guarded, the courtroom proceedings will push her to a breaking point she never anticipated. The courtroom confession. When Portia finally takes the witness stand, the atmosphere in the courtroom becomes electric with tension. Defense attorney Alexis begins her questioning, and it quickly becomes apparent that she's determined to extract the truth from Portia, no matter how painful it might be. Portia becomes visibly emotional, her voice cracking as tears threaten to spill down her cheeks. She desperately tries to maintain her composure, but Alexis's relentless questioning chips away at her defenses. In a moment of raw vulnerability, Portia pleads with Alexis to stop the line of questioning, insisting that Alexis isn't going to get the answer she's looking for. "Please don't do this," Portia begs, her voice barely above a whisper, but Alexis remains resolute. As an attorney, Alexis knows she has a duty to her client, and that duty requires her to pursue every avenue that might help Willow's case, regardless of the personal cost to others. The confrontation reaches its devastating climax when Portia is forced to make an admission that will send shockwaves through multiple families. Under mounting pressure and unable to evade the truth any longer, Portia confesses that she was with Isaiah Gannon the night Drew Kane was shot. This revelation provides Portia with an alibi, proving she couldn't have been involved in the shooting. However, this confession comes at an enormous personal price that will reverberate throughout Port Charles. Family fallout. Curtis Ashford and Trina Robinson, both present in the courtroom, are absolutely blindsided by Portia's admission. Curtis's face drains of color as he processes what his wife has just revealed. The implications are staggering and impossible to ignore. Isaiah Gannon could potentially be another candidate for fatherhood when it comes to their family situation. The revelation doesn't just impact Curtis's relationship with Portia, it threatens to unravel the very fabric of their family unit. Trina sits frozen in shock, watching her mother's public confession with wide, disbelieving eyes. The young woman has already endured so much turmoil in her life, and now she must grapple with yet another earth-shattering revelation about her mother's secrets. The courtroom, filled with friends, family, and strangers, becomes the stage for this deeply personal family crisis, adding humiliation to the already overwhelming pain. Beyond the immediate shock of Portia's admission about being with Isaiah, there's also the possibility that additional scandalous details about blackmail schemes could emerge during the proceedings. The web of secrets in Port Charles is intricate and dangerous, and once one thread begins to unravel, it often pulls others along with it. Alexis must navigate these treacherous waters carefully, as pushing too hard could provoke Drew Kane into retaliation that might ultimately harm Willow's case rather than help it. New information emerges. Despite the explosive drama of Portia's testimony, General Hospital spoilers indicate that even more crucial intel is headed Alexis's way. This mysterious new information could provide the breakthrough she desperately needs to secure Willow's freedom. Could this be connected to the eavesdropping incident at the Courtroom mansion? Someone was secretly listening when Michael and Tracy had an incriminating conversation, and that shadowy figure may hold the key to everything. If Martin Gray or another character decides to come forward with what they overheard, it could completely shift the trajectory of the trial. The Courtroom family has plenty of skeletons in their closets, and any one of them could be the piece of evidence that changes everything. Alexis will need to stay alert and ready to pivot her strategy as new developments unfold. Chase's mounting troubles. While the courtroom drama unfolds, Harrison Chase receives disturbing news that adds another layer of worry to his already heavy burden. The detective has been walking a tightrope throughout this ordeal, trying to help Willow while maintaining his professional integrity. Whatever information Chase receives clearly troubles him deeply, suggesting there may be new obstacles threatening Willow's chances of acquittal and raising the terrifying possibility that her freedom could be permanently stripped away. Adding to Chase's stress, his partner Dante Falconeri confronts him yet again about the mysteriously vanished traffic cam footage. The missing evidence has become a major sticking point in the investigation, and Dante cannot let it go. In a tense exchange captured in the preview, Dante pleads with his colleague and friend, "Tell me you're not the one who got rid of that footage." Chase appears genuinely offended by Dante's persistent suspicions. After all, he has already sworn multiple times that he would never compromise evidence or abuse his position as a police officer. His integrity means everything to him, and Dandy's repeated questions feel like personal attacks on his character and professionalism. What Chase knows but cannot reveal is that it was actually Jack Brennan who orchestrated the footage's disappearance, not him. However, Chase's knowledge of Brennan's involvement puts him in an impossible position. He can't throw Brennan under the bus without raising questions about how he knows this information and potentially incriminating himself in the cover-up. So Chase must endure Danny's interrogation, defending himself while keeping the full truth hidden. This impossible situation is taking its toll on Chase emotionally and professionally, straining his relationships with his colleagues and forcing him to compromise the values he's always held dear. The Wednesday, December 24th episode promises to be an emotional roller coaster that will leave viewers stunned and desperate for answers. Between Portia's devastating courtroom confession, the potential new evidence heading Alexis's way, and Chase's increasingly precarious position, Port Charles is about to experience seismic shifts that will alter relationships and alliances for months to come. Next, we will learn about the explosive courtroom drama that is about to unfold in Port Charles, where secrets will be exposed, lives will be shattered, and one witness's testimony will change everything we thought we knew about the night Drew Cain was shot. This is a story that has been building for months, and the fallout is going to be absolutely devastating for multiple families in town. The high-stakes battle for Willow's freedom. Willow Tate Cain finds herself standing at the most critical crossroads of her entire life right now. The beloved nurse and mother is facing serious criminal charges for the shooting of Drew Cain, a crime that could potentially send her away to Pentonville for years. Despite currently being out on bail and surrounded by her loving family, the weight of this impending trial hangs over her like a dark cloud that refuses to dissipate. Every single day that passes brings her closer to a courtroom battle that will determine whether she gets to continue raising her children or whether she'll be torn away from them during their most formative years. The prosecution has built what they believe is a solid case against Willow, and the evidence they've compiled appears damning on the surface. Witnesses have placed her at or near the scene. Her relationship with Drew was complicated and fraught with tension, and there were certainly motives that could be argued in court. However, anyone who truly knows Willow understands that she simply doesn't have it in her to commit such a violent act. She's a healer, a nurturer, someone who has dedicated her life to caring for others rather than harming them. Yet in the criminal justice system, truth and innocence don't always triumph over circumstantial evidence and prosecutorial ambition. What makes this situation even more heartbreaking is the impact it's having on her relationship with Scout Courtroom. The young girl has already lost so much in her short life, and the thought of losing access to Willow as well is almost too much to bear. The prosecutors are using this angle as well, painting Willow as someone who has inserted herself into Scout's life inappropriately. The custody implications alone are staggering. Never mind the criminal consequences. Every hearing, every court appearance, every piece of evidence presented chips away at the foundation of the life Willow has worked so hard to build. Alexis Davis's brilliant legal maneuvering. Attorney Alexis Davis has taken on Willow's case with the fierce determination of a mother bear protecting her cub. This isn't just another case for Alexis, it's deeply personal. She knows Willow, she knows her character, and she's absolutely convinced of her innocence. More than that, Alexis understands that if she fails to secure an acquittal, it won't just be Willow who suffers. The entire Corinthos Courtroom family dynamic will be torn apart, and Scout will lose yet another maternal figure from her life. The pressure on Alexis is immense, but she's been in this position before and knows how to handle it. Through her extensive investigation and relentless pursuit of the truth, Alexis has managed to uncover some absolutely critical information that could blow this case wide open. She's learned that Tracy Courtroom, the sharp-eyed matriarch of the Courtroom family, witnessed something extremely significant on the night Drew was shot. Tracy saw Michael Corinthos leaving Drew's residence around the time of the shooting, a detail that could completely shift the focus of the investigation. This is the kind of breakthrough that defense attorneys dream about, concrete evidence that points to an alternative suspect. However, Tracy being Tracy, she's not about to throw her beloved grandson under the bus without a fight. Her protective instincts where Michael is concerned are legendary, and she's already strategizing about how to shield him from any potential fallout. She'll use every trick in her considerable arsenal to redirect attention away from Michael, even if it means Willow takes the fall for a crime she didn't commit. But here's where things get even more interesting. There was another person lurking nearby during that crucial conversation, someone who overheard Tracy discussing what she saw. Multiple sources are suggesting that this mystery eavesdropper could very well be the shrewd attorney Martin Gray, who has his own reasons for being interested in this case and who certainly knows how to use information to maximum advantage. Portia's devastating courtroom revelation. The courtroom atmosphere is thick with tension as the trial enters its most dramatic phase yet. In an unexpected twist that nobody saw coming, Portia Robinson has been called to the witness stand to provide testimony. As she makes her way to the witness box, her heels clicking against the polished courtroom floor, she catches sight of her family in the gallery. Her husband Curtis Ashford sits with a supportive but concerned expression, while her daughter Trina Robinson watches with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Isaiah Gannon, the handsome doctor who has become a complicated figure in Portia's life, is also present, his eyes following her every movement. Portia's demeanor as she takes her seat in the witness box initially appears calm and collected. She's a respected doctor, an upstanding member of the Port Charles community, someone who has testified in court before and knows the drill. She gives her family a reassuring smile and a confident nod, a gesture meant to communicate that everything is going to be fine, that her testimony will help Willow's case, and that there's nothing to worry about. The gallery, filled with Port Charles residents and curious onlookers, watches as Portia is sworn in and prepares to answer questions. At this moment, nobody could predict the absolute bombshell that's about to detonate. Alexis Davis begins her questioning with what seem like routine inquiries, establishing Portia's credentials and her knowledge of the night in question. But as the attorney skillfully guides the conversation, moving strategically from general questions to more specific ones, Portia's confident facade begins to crack. Her answers become more hesitant, her voice wavers slightly, and beads of perspiration start forming on her forehead. The realization of where this line of questioning is heading hits her like a freight train, and panic floods through her entire body. Within minutes, the composed doctor has completely fallen apart on the witness stand. Tears stream down Portia's face as the full horror of her situation becomes undeniable. Her voice breaks as she desperately pleads with Alexis, begging her not to go down this path, not to force her to reveal the truth in front of her husband, her daughter, and the entire courtroom. "Please, don't do this," she sobs, her professional dignity completely shattered. But Alexis, while sympathetic to Portia's distress, has a client to defend and cannot let personal feelings interfere with her duty to Willow. The truth must come out, no matter how painful it might be. The shocking affair exposed. What Portia is being forced to admit is absolutely scandalous and will send shockwaves through Port Charles for months to come. On the night that Drew Kane was shot, when every minute of every suspect's time matters critically to establishing alibis and timelines, Portia Robinson was not where anyone expected her to be. She wasn't at home with her husband. She wasn't working at the hospital. She wasn't with friends or family. Instead, she was engaged in an intimate encounter with Dr. Isaiah Gannon, the very man who has been causing friction in her marriage and whose presence has become increasingly problematic. This revelation is devastating on multiple levels. Not only does it provide Portia with a solid alibi that proves she couldn't have shot Drew, but it also simultaneously destroys her marriage and shatters the image her daughter has of her. Curtis, sitting in the gallery, will hear his wife confess to infidelity in the most public and humiliating way possible. Trina, who has always looked up to her mother as a role model of integrity and strength, will discover that Portia has been living a lie. The entire courtroom erupts into shocked whispers and gasps as the full meaning of Portia's testimony becomes clear. The timing of this affair makes it even more complicated and messy. Portia has been juggling both relationships, maintaining a facade of marital happiness with Curtis while secretly pursuing her attraction to Isaiah. The guilt has been eating away at her, but she never imagined it would all come crashing down in such a spectacularly public manner. Now there's no hiding, no spinning the story, no way to control the narrative. The truth is out there for everyone to see, and the consequences are going to be absolutely catastrophic for everyone involved. The gallery's reaction to the bombshell. From their seats in the courtroom gallery, Detective Dante Falconeri and his wife Brook Lynn watched the scene unfold with expressions of profound shock and discomfort. Dante, who has worked countless cases and seen humanity at its worst, still finds himself disturbed by this public unraveling of a marriage. As Portia continues to sob and plead on the stand, Dante actually turns his head away, unable to watch the complete destruction of a woman he knows and respects. His jaw is set in a grim line, and his disappointment in Portia is written all over his face. Brook Lynn, sitting beside her husband, clutches his arm as the testimony continues. Her face reflects a mixture of sympathy for Portia's distress and horror at what's being revealed. She can only imagine how Curtis and Trina must be feeling right now, sitting just a few rows away and having their family's most private pain exposed to public scrutiny. The awkwardness in the courtroom is almost unbearable, with people not knowing where to look or how to react to such raw emotional devastation. Portia's criminal past comes back to haunt her. While Portia's affair provides her with an alibi for Drew's shooting, it also opens the door for Alexis to explore other questionable actions Portia has taken over the past several years. The doctor's history isn't quite as clean as she's pretended, and now that she's under oath and on the stand, everything is fair game for examination. Alexis, being the thorough attorney she isn't about to let this opportunity pass without addressing some of Portia's other ethically questionable decisions. The most serious of these involves her manipulation of Heather Weber's medical test results when Heather was being tested for cobalt poisoning, a condition that could explain her violent and erratic behavior. Portia deliberately tampered with the results. She altered the numbers, falsified the data, and ensured that Heather's condition went undiagnosed and untreated. Portia's justification for this criminal act was that she was protecting Trina from Heather, who she viewed as a dangerous threat to her daughter's safety and well-being. However, this justification falls apart under scrutiny. If Heather truly was suffering from cobalt poisoning, then her actions weren't entirely her own fault. The poisoning could have been affecting her judgment, her impulse control, her entire personality. By denying Heather proper medical treatment, Portia may have been condemning an innocent woman to a life behind bars for actions she couldn't fully control. The ethical implications are staggering, and the legal consequences could be even worse. Medical malpractice, evidence tampering, obstruction of justice. The charges that could potentially be filed against Portia are serious and numerous. The pregnancy bombshell and its implications. As if Portia's situation wasn't complicated enough, there's another layer to this disaster that makes everything even more dramatic and soap operatic. Portia Robinson is pregnant, carrying a child whose paternity is completely uncertain. Is Curtis the father, or is it Isaiah? Nobody knows, possibly not even Portia herself. This pregnancy revelation transforms an already messy situation into an absolute nightmare scenario that will dominate Port Charles gossip for months to come. If Portia ends up facing criminal charges for her tampering with Heather's test results, she could potentially be sentenced to prison time. The image of a pregnant woman being led away to Pentonville would be powerful and controversial, raising questions about justice, motherhood, and the consequences of our actions. It would be a form of poetic justice. Portia helped keep Heather in prison unjustly, and now she might find herself in the same situation, experiencing firsthand the horror of being incarcerated while pregnant. This pregnancy also sets up what could be an incredibly compelling joint storyline for Curtis and Isaiah. Both men would have reasons to be involved, to care about the child's welfare, to want to know if they're the father. Custody battles, DNA tests, emotional confrontations, all of these elements could come into play. Curtis would be torn between his anger at Portia's betrayal and his potential responsibility as a father. Isaiah would have to decide how involved he wants to be and whether he's ready for the commitment that fatherhood demands. For Trina, this is perhaps the most devastating aspect of all. Not only is she dealing with her mother's infidelity and criminal behavior, but now there's going to be a baby whose parentage is questionable. Her family structure, which she thought was solid and stable, has been revealed as a house of cards that's completely collapsed. It's absolutely time that Trina gets a clearer, more honest picture of who her mother really is beneath the perfect exterior she's always presented. Portia has positioned herself as morally superior, as someone who always does the right thing, but the reality is far more complicated and far less admirable. This reckoning has been a long time coming, and while it's painful to watch, it's also necessary for everyone's growth and healing. The truth, as ugly as it might be, is always better than living a lie.